Hey guys, and welcome to the first episode of Founders Insights on IT in Ukraine. And in this episode, I'm going to tell you about how I went from being a barman to being an engineer to being an entrepreneur in IT in Ukraine. So I was growing up in a small town in Denmark, and I finished my high school. And after that, I didn't really know what to do. So I took a few years off. I started working in a cafe as a waiter and a barman, and I had different jobs in different bars. And for a few years, I was just hanging out, enjoying my youth, and having fun. And after a few years, I realized that I needed to do something more serious, and I decided that I wanted to work with computers. So I've always had computers in my life. My first computer was a Commodore 64. I had an Amiga, I turned to PCs, but it had always been around gaming or just fun. And now I realized that I wanted to try to actually being able to communicate with the computer for real. So I was looking for different options for this. I found a new education in Denmark that was called Information and Communication Technology. I decided to enlist there to try to figure out if that was something for me. So it turned out that this education, it was a 2-year education, and it was a very broad education that touched a little bit on computer science, a little bit on graphical designs, and so on. So you got a taste of different things. And from that I learned that that was probably not the optimal education for me, but it also made me understand that I like to work with computers and I would like to learn more about how to program. So I stopped this education after 1 year, and then I decided to join the engineering college in Aarhus to learn how to be a hardcore programmer. And on this school I learned our first language was C++, and we moved into Java. We touched on PHP, and we touched on C#.net, and that was all good. But it was a tough time for me because I had been away from school for some years, and on the engineering college there was also a lot about math, and it was really hard for me to keep up there. So actually the first semester I had to redo one more time because I failed the exams. I needed to go back to study harder, and then I succeeded in my second try. And that was actually the same story on the second semester, where I also had problems with the math. But as I continued through the semesters, it got more and more, I got more and more opportunity to move into programming and away from the math parts. So actually on the last year, I was doing a project together with a study buddy. We were doing a very interesting project for a company that was making X-ray machines for hospitals. And they wanted us to make a new control system for one of their X-ray machines. So the machine that we were presented to, it had like 4 joysticks and 20 different buttons to control this machine. And the purpose of the project was to replace all this with a touchscreen, 1 joystick and 4 buttons. So these buttons and the joystick, they would change functions depending on what you were choosing on this touchscreen. So it's a very interesting project for us. And actually when we finished it, this company was using it in their production and selling this product. And we ended up getting the second highest grade in the school. So from being struggling and from being, low self-esteem, I actually ended up finishing the engineering education with full of confidence and a good grade in my last exam. So I finished, and I started looking for a job, and there were many opportunities for jobs for programmers at this time in Aarhus. So I went to 3 different interviews in 1 week, and during this week I was actually offered a job, and I started the following Monday in a digital agency that wanted me to enlist and help them do projects, big web projects based on a CMS system called Episerver, but the foundation was .NET C#, so it was perfect for me, and I loved it. It was a very nice atmosphere in this company, mixed of different kind of profiles with programmers, front-end and back-end, graphical designers, user experience people, project managers, sales people. It was a very vibrant environment and fun to be in. So that was a good choice for me, and it was also in this company that I first was introduced to Ukraine. After a few years, I started collaborating on a daily basis with 3 guys in Ukraine. So instead of programming all day, I would spend half of my day sending tasks to them, verifying their work, and talking to the clients. So I moved into kind of a technical project manager position where I was working closely together with 3 guys from Ukraine. So in this way we could scale from me being close to the client to actually deliver work for 3-4 people. So that was a very nice setup, and after some time I got the chance to be sent to Ukraine to work even closer with these guys. So I was working with 3 of them, but we actually had a team of around 30 people managed by some Danish people here. So I was put into this team, and also at the same time as I moved here, I was moved to a different team, a service and support team, and I needed to build up competencies in Ukraine to help on this team. So that was very interesting, and I was working here for around 1 year, and then I returned back to Denmark, and I felt now it was time for me for some new challenges, so I was looking for a new job. I got a new job in another digital agency that was very interested in learning from my experiences with working with distributed teams, and also from this service and support team. So I was hired to create a new service and support team, and this time they would like me to work with people from India. There was already a big team in the company in India of 600 people, and I was given 10 of these guys. So I went down to Bangalore to meet with these guys, and that was actually a very positive experience as well. After working with the Indian team for around a year, I got some work that was not fit for that team. That was mostly a backend development team, and I got a project for around 2 months work that was purely on front end, and I was not comfortable sending this to India because it was not fair. It was not their strength in my team down there. So I suggested to my managers that we should open up a small team in Ukraine with front-enders. I had excellent experience with this from my previous job, and after some struggles back and forth, it was finally approved that I could open a team in Ukraine. So I went back to Ukraine, and it was just me. And after a month or something like that, I hired my first front-ender from my new company. And slowly but surely we were growing organically. I was only working with our Danish organization, even though my new company was actually a global digital agency with offices in most of the world. But for the first part, we needed to show that this was something that was scalable and we could broaden out to the rest of the organization. So for 2 years, we grew to around 15 people, and it was a very stable setup, and everybody was aligned on how to work with the Ukrainians from the Danish side. The Ukrainians, they were very happy working with the Danish office. They often went to visit them to have a good collaboration, to understand each other, who are these persons that I'm working with on a daily basis, talking to on video every morning and so on. So it was actually very comfortable and a big success. But I was getting a little bit bored from this because it was so stable. I actually didn't have a lot of work to do. I only had work if there was problem with the collaboration or if we needed to hire new people. So all in all, during a week, I didn't have much tasks that I needed to attend because it was such a stable setup. So I decided together with another Danish guy in Kharkiv to try and open our own office. I would like to understand how it was to run a company in Ukraine. And it was also a new challenge for me to both to learn something new, but also it was an opportunity for me to grow in my career. So we opened a company, and my partner, he was managing this company on a daily basis, and I was actually just a silent partner in this. I still had my full-time job, and that was fine. Okay, so we had our office in Kharkiv with 15 people. We had opened a new office down in Dnipro that was focusing on sitecore development, and we had actually grown into 60 people team on 2 locations. And one day my manager from Denmark invites me to Kiev. We need to meet a company here that we had been collaborating with for a few years, and they were looking for an investor. But long story short, we ended up merging this company from Kiev into our existing organization in Ukraine. So we were now on 4 locations, and we were around 180 people. So I decided to move to Kiev to make sure that the collaboration was still working well, and that our new colleagues from Kiev and Chernihiv, they learned what it meant to be a part of this European organization. I was working with them for 2 years, I think, when I realized, wow, we had grown into a 200 people company now, and I was feeling that the job I was sent to do in Ukraine was completed, and at the same time my own company had grown to around 25 people. So earlier this year in August, I decided together with my partner that now it was time for me to quit my job and move full-time into our own company. So it was a tough decision because I was leaving a great job with a great pay, and in my own company it was not like I was going to starve, but it was probably 1/3 of the salary that I was used to from my other company, on top of paid travel, paid allowances when I was traveling, paid hotels, and all kinds of perks, free telephone, free computers, and so on. Suddenly all these things are something that I needed to take care of together with my partner in our own company, in a small company. But I needed this new challenge, and we've been at it now for 4 months, and we have added 3-4 new people since I started. And our goal is during the next 12 months to hire on average 2 people per month, so that we will by next year hopefully be around 50 people. And this channel, Founders Insights on IT in Ukraine, will focus a lot around this journey. So I hope you find it interesting. We will cover topics such as recruitment and retention, and looking for new clients, and what is the economy in a startup company in IT in Ukraine. Things like issues that I never really had to deal with before, like cash flow. Like last month, we had a good month, we have new people starting, but it really meant that we had a cash flow issue because we needed to buy new computers and set up the new people, pay for the recruitment, and so on. So in real, last month, I didn't get a salary, and that was a very new feeling for me that I needed to cope with. So it's great to be in a startup company. It gives you a lot of freedom, but it also comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of concerns that I was not used to before. So if you find this interesting, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to follow us, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And in this way you'll get notified when we are posting new content. I hope to do a new video every 1 week or something like that. So have a great day and see you soon.